The movies I watched in January, what about them? It was a month filled with many new releases, some old Hollywood masterpieces, classics, and some random films. Let's get into it! Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now. Hot Tub Time Machine 3 out of 5. First, I watched this comedy on Netflix about 4 friends who accidentally travel back to the 1980s in a hot tub and must relive a pivotal night to fix their futures. It must be some kind of hot tub time machine. This movie is hot, goddamn. I'm always a sucker for some time travel, so I was always bound to like it in some level. If not for the ending, I would have liked it less. Most of the story quite literally spells itself out because the characters keep mentioning what is about to happen. The setup is also crazy lazy, but all in all it is a serviceable comedy, as in some of the jokes work and some don't. Hot Tub Time Machine 2, 3 out of 5. Next up, I watched the sequel on Netflix about the same group of friends who accidentally travel to the future and must fix the timeline to save one of their own. At the start I was expecting this to be one of the worst sequels I've ever seen, but it surprised me slightly after. The protagonists weren't likable to begin with, but here they are far from it. It felt cheap, quite literally sad, and I was expecting to miss John Cusack. But honestly, after the start it got a lot better. It is still beyond stupid, the plot gets very ridiculous but fun, and Adam Scott is always a massive plus. That game show segment was actually so funny, easily the funniest part in these films. I was laughing my ass off like crazy. The ending is also very fun, but might go a little too far with the joke. Very similar in quality to the first, but for many different reasons. Paths of Glory 5 out of 5. Next up I watched this classic on Prime Video about a French colonel who defended 3 soldiers unjustly court-martialed after a failed World War I attack. The best World War film ever? War is stupid, isn't it? It honestly feels fresh even looking at it today. It is fantastic across the board, immediately engaging, well-paced, incredible dialogue, beautifully shot, and best of all beyond infuriating, exactly what it needs to be. The villains, if you should call them that, are great. Kirk Douglas is also great in his dual role of colonel and defense lawyer. The Grinch 3 out of 5. Next up, I was a little late for Christmas and watched this film with my girlfriend about a bitter recluse who plots to steal Christmas from Whoville but slowly discovers the joy of community. Not the definitive Grinch, but serviceable to say the least. Very colorful and fun animation, but a little too childlike for me. I liked Cumberbatch in the role, the story feels a little too rushed, making the Grinch not really feel that Grinchy to me. His switch is also a little too sudden, but who cares? It is very heartwarming in the end, even got me a little emotional to be honest. Back to the Future Part 2, 4.5 out of 5. Next up I watched this film with my girlfriend about Marty McFly as he travels to the future and then the past to fix a timeline spiraling out of control. It is almost as iconic as the first. The hoverboard, the shoes, the bad prosthetics, it has it all. The performances are also as enjoyable as ever. So much happens in this one film, it might be a bit all over the place and even far-fetched within its premise, but I love it. Everything they come up with is so clever and original. Judgement at Nuremberg 4.5 out of 5. Next up I watched this classic about a courtroom trial that forces judges to confront moral responsibility for Nazi crimes after World War II. Damn strong as a film, but could have been even better as a mini-series. It very much feels like a one-of-a-kind film, I haven't seen many like it. It is incredibly shot and acted with some impressive long takes, while there is some clear overacting in some scenes, especially by Rolf. I was very surprised to see William Shatner here as well, but as the film goes on, the cast becomes infinitely more stacked. There is some very heavy and deep stuff here, some scenes are incredibly heartbreaking. That concentration camp scene was just harrowing. But I also like the more personal moments away from the court. It is however quite obviously a little too long and thus falls slightly short in the end, while the ride is pretty incredible. The Housemaid 4.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about a troubled woman hired into a wealthy household who uncovers dark secrets that turn her job into a dangerous trap. A sexy thriller that did practically everything it needed to do. A very intriguing film, it really keeps you wondering and I was fully engaged throughout, there was practically no dull moment. Only a very short part in the middle felt a little out of place. The score works really well and the performances from the main 3 are pretty strong and very broad in range. I didn't like Amanda Seyfried that much at first, but when it all falls into place I began to appreciate it even more. 28 years later, The Bone Temple 4 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about the continued story of both Spike and the Jimmies as well as Dr. Kelson. It's a little shame when the best part of the film in itself is the last few minutes. Not that this is bad, it is actually pretty good, very much better than its predecessor, which became boring and too weird at times. However, I still want something else, a little more grounded. The film looks great, is actually well paced and pretty much never boring. I like Ralph Fiennes quite a bit, his story with Samson was easily the best in the film. I just couldn't really get into the Jimmies, as well as Spike as a protagonist fully. The two stories that intertwine but both lack a little is its biggest flaw, while they do come together sort of well. It luckily is extremely gruesome at times with a couple sparse but extremely cool zombie sequences. While emotionally it worked, just give us a little more next time. The Rip, 2.5 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Netflix about a team of cops whose night unravels after a massive discovery turns allies into enemies. I like both Damon and Affleck, but this is nowhere near their best work. It is almost solid. I've read something about great twists, but to me they were very predictable, probably due to the castings of the characters. Even though there was a shit ton of exposition, I honestly had no clue what was going on for some of it. The performances are fine, that is no surprise, but they are not great, and the action is shot very shaky, very far from being enjoyable to watch. It is all just okay, but could have used slightly more fun. Train Dreams, 2 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film on Netflix about a quiet laborer whose solitary life unfolds across the rapidly changing American West in the early 20th century. I just don't really get it beyond the visuals. I pretty much always love period pieces, and this is a great peek into that time and life. It definitely has that going for it. Alongside the fact that it obviously is absolutely gorgeous to look at, looks so incredibly real and has some pretty terrific performances, but beyond that it lost me. For the visuals alone it is of certain quality, but story weighs heavily for me. I don't really like narration, but I could stand it here and it definitely needed it, because even with it I was a bit clueless at times. I feel it has a lot to say, but I don't know what it is saying. It might be because of my age, but I just wasn't able to get it all. It's too slow, not really put together story-wise, and ultimately builds to nothing, making it feel more like an overly long poem than a motion picture. Hamnet, 4 out of 5. Next up, I watched this film at the cinema about William Shakespeare's family as they grieve the death of his young son, a loss that profoundly shapes his life and art. A pretty emotional, albeit somewhat slow experience. While slow films normally bog me a little, this one mostly didn't. There are enough very emotional moments and some really powerful scenes. A couple really hit, while others made it clear to me that I wasn't connected enough to the characters. The film clearly has some superb performances, with Jessie Buckley being a clear standout. However, Paul Mescal was very hit or miss for me, great in some scenes, mediocre in others. Technically, it was pretty wonderful, it gives a great sense of the time it takes place in and has a strong score as well. And there you have it, the movies I watched in January. These were my best and worst watches of the month. I hope you guys again enjoyed me rambling about some films I watched, and if you did, let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these. I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.